Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at an album review which was requested by a comment from JennisBird64. So thank you very much for requesting this review today. I'm going to be taking a look at the Police album Zenyatta Mondatta. So I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, a little bit of quick background information about the album, then I'll show you my vinyl copy and then look at each of the album songs in detail. This was the third album released by the Police on the 3rd of October in 1980. The album was apparently rush recorded in between tours, and in subsequent years the band expressed disappointment with its production. They actually wound up re-recording 2 of the album songs in 1985. The record was very successful for the band. It reached number 1 on the UK charts, and was their first real American breakthrough, hitting number 5 there. It earned the band 2 Grammy awards and is often considered as one of the best albums by the Police. So I will now show you my vinyl copy. This is just a bog standard British copy, I believe. Nice cover to it, and that's the back of it there, just a sort of photo collage. So fancy in a sleeve with this one. It's just in a plain sort of sleeve, but quite a nice label though on it. This sort of custom the Police label there, and this is not a bad copy of it either, just on A&M records which they were on. So that's the vinyl record looked at. So I'll now go over each of the album songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it opens up with one of the singles from the album, Don't Stand So Close to Me, which is a very popular song this here. Lyrically, it's quite an interesting track. It's about a sort of relationship which people wishes to have with a teacher. So the song goes through a lot of different emotions, sort of lost, but also sort of fear, and elements of guilt in it as well. Some people have actually claimed that the song is autobiographical because Sting did used to be a teacher before the Police were formed. However, he has denied that the song was written about anything in particular, and it was basically just a fantasy scenario. I mean, I can't really say anything too bad about the song because it is a absolute classic song. Just me personally, I don't really feel much connection with the track. I think the Police had a lot better singles singles out before and after this song here. But I can't really argue with it being a UK number 1 was the biggest selling single of 1980 in the UK. So absolute smash hit for the band. It kicks off the album pretty well, I think. Next up kind of softens mood a bit. It's called Driven to Tears, which is I said, sort of softer, slower track, with a really, really nice bass line, from Sting, and also great guitar work, as well, from Andy Summers. Lyrically, it's a bit more political, this song. Sting was sort of going in this slightly more sort of political sort of I won't quite call it social commentary sort of direction, but that sort of those sort of themes that were starting to sort of come into his lyrics, especially on this track, which sort of deals with sort of poverty, in the developing world. I mean, sonically the track is very good. It just sounds very sort of Police by numbers, this song here, very similar to their song Walking on the Moon from the last album. So yeah, we'll give Driven to Tears a 7 out of 10. And then the next number, third one on the album, probably has one of the longest song titles I think I've ever come across. It's When the World is Running Down, You Make the Best of What's Still Around. Which, yes, I really like the introduction to this song. I quite like how this one is sort of merges in with Driven to Tears. I think they kind of nicely complement each other, these two songs. The intro has this sort of pumping bass line on it. Again with really sort of shining guitar work from Summers. Almost a kind of dance song, almost it's got this sort of very sort of I would say sort of futuristic sort of 80s beat, what was still very much in its infancy when this album was released. And it kind of just gets quite hypnotic as it goes on. It sort of has this sort of looping sort of quality to it. So I actually really, really like this one. We'll give it a 9 out of 10. And the next song up is another underrated song like on the record, I feel. It's called Canary In A Coalmine, which is just a really fun like upbeat song. Like really like on this track, like the police, like they're not taking themselves like too seriously like they would like often do. Like I mean like this is like they're just basically just like having fun. Like it's got this sort of like ska beat to it. I mean lyrically I'm not too sure like what it's about. It's very sort of like cryptic lyrically, but you know it is just very short, very sweet, this track. We'll give it a 9 out of 10. Yeah, like one of the ones which I would definitely come back to like on the album. The next one up is called Voices In My Head, which is one of the most like experimental tracks like on this record. Like this is very much like a sort of like transition album like for like the police. Like yes, it still has like some of like the sort of like punky elements like off like their like sort of like early work. Like where like it also like sort of like looks forwards like to like future album Synchronicity and is it Ghost in the Machine like is like another one. Like this one like especially like kind of like looks forward like to those records like with its sort of echoey like African style vocals. Like the start like it's got this sort of like very sort of like almost like sort of like psychedelic like sort of feeling to it. However, the actual lyrics on this one like are like a little bit thin. Like it gets quite repetitive, this track. But I do feel that they had a real sort of core like off like a great song here. Like just really didn't like sort of like fully develop it like into something like what like would have like had the real staying power for me. So I would give it a 8 out of 10. Like just because it is like slightly different sort of vibe on this track. And then closing off the first side, we get a song called Bombs Away, which is a little bit forgettable, this track, like sort of like musically. I can't really remember like how like it goes, like to be honest with you. Like according like to like some research I which had done, like it was apparently based like on like a backing track like by Susie and the Banshees, like which which a producer like on this record, a guy called Nigel Gray, like apparently like sort of like flipped round, like played backwards, and like Stuart Copeland, like I believe like wrote like sort of like lyrics like to this track here, like which are like again like a little bit more like political about like the Soviet invasion like of like Afghanistan like in 1979. So yeah, it ends the first side quite well. I mean like not one like off the standouts like on the album though. Now, the second side opens up with another one of the singles from the album. It is Do 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 Di Da Da Da, which is a very silly song. I mean, it's got these sort of nonsense lyrics. Like sort of like I consider them like a little bit lesser than like a lot of like their like contemporaries, like say like Paul Weller, like or like Elvis Costello. Like Sting's lyrics like could like sometimes be seen like as juvenile, like and basic, and like this is like a clear like example like of that. However, he has said that it is a kind of comment like on how people liked sort of like very simple songs like without like any like real message. Like so like it's sort of like supposed to be taken like as like a sort of like parody or like sort of like all like sort of like in like a sort of like ironic sense. However, I mean it was still a hit like for like the band. Like nonetheless it reached number 5 like on like the UK chart, so very much sort of like proving like sort of like the moral like of like the song that people very much are sort of like into sort of like basic sounding like lyrics, and like you really can't get much more basic than this track. But the reason why I'm giving it a high score as an 8 out of 10 is because musically it is one of the more sort of like fully developed songs, like especially like sort of like the bass playing like and like the guitars, like the way that they play off each other's really cleverly done. I just wish it had a sort of like a song with slightly more substance like to match. Now the next song up is really pure filler like on the album. It's called Behind My Camel, which is an Andy Summers like instrumental piece, and like this was I believe his first contribution, like his first writing contribution like to like a Police album, and Sting apparently hated this song. Like he like refused to play on it, like so like Summers like had to play like all like the bass parts like himself, like and like I believe like Sting like even went as far like as like burying like the master tapes like in like his garden like or something like that. I mean it's just a sort of slightly sort of darker like synth based like piece, which I suppose like sort of like nicely sort of contradicts like from like the very sort of like pop nature like off like the last song. However, it just really doesn't go anywhere. I just think it's like a little bit like pointless filler like on the album. However, someone must disagree with me because it did actually win like a Grammy Award in 1981 for Best Instrumental Song. So yeah, Behind My Camel, not a great song there, a 5 out of 10. And then kind of like out of nowhere we get another like really good, like sort of like again a fun sort of like catchy track. This song and like Canary like in a Coalmine like always seem like very sort of similar to me. It is Man in a Suitcase, which is just another fun sort of like upbeat reggae slash sort of like ska like infused like number. I mean, there's not too much to say like about this one. Like lyrically like again like I'm not too sure like what it's about, but it is just another good solid song. So I would give it an 8 out of 10 for Man in a Suitcase. And then after that we get a rather sort of slow and like sloppy jam number called Shadows in the Rain, which yeah, I'm not a massive fan like of this song. Again, a bit like Behind My Camel, really struggles to go like anywhere this track here. I mean, like they're just sort of playing like aimlessly like for like about 5 minutes. Again, just pure filler like on the album for me. And then the record closes with another sort of like rather like unremarkable song called The Other Way of Stopping, which is a slightly faster paced song to end the record, which is definitely what we need. But it is again an instrumental piece. Stuart Copeland like sort of like was like the writer like behind this one here. And I mean, yes, it features some quite flashy drumming on it, like, but really has like not much else going for it. Okay, so overall, this album would score 73%, which I think is quite a fair score for it. I mean, like on like the one hand, you have got some really good tracks, like Don't Stand So Close to Me, like When the World Is Running Down, Canary In A Coalmine, and Man in a Suitcase. Like, all really, really good stuff. However, there is like a lot of Police records, a lot of filler like on it, like as well. Like the instrumental tracks do next to nothing for me, and like some like off like the other songs, like they just don't really like capture like my like imagination too much. Now this was a case I got off like a band like in that transition really. I mean, like it's not really, I can't really class it like as like a sort of like a classic third album. Like it's very much like they established a sound for themselves like on like the first 2 records, like which worked like pretty good. However here they're still sort of like clinging to that like a little bit. Like however they're also like looking forward like as well. And like personally like I feel like the next 2 records like were like much stronger. It was kind of like, this was kind of like the tipping point like for like the band, like kind of like from like reggae like infused punk band like to very much like sort of like one of like the biggest pop bands like in like the world like at like the time. So yeah, that's been my review of the Police Zenyatta Mondatta. I'm sure that a lot of people will probably disagree like with this review, because the Police, they are one of the most loved bands like of like all time. Personally for me though, I'm just not like a massive fan. For me, kind of like the singles, like the singles will do, but there are some hidden gems like on here though, like I have to say, like, but it is very much bogged down like by like a lot of filler, like especially like on side 2. That's been my review of Zenyatta Mondatta. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.